Stephen Kyle is an associate professor in the College of Business at Cornell University. His recent work has focused on the outlook for the U.S. economy. We want to welcome you to the broadcast. You heard there shoemakers saying this is going to hurt the working class. Do you think these kind of pleas are going to have any impact on the administration?
It doesn't seem so. I don't really believe Donald Trump has much of a strategy beyond the current 24-hour news cycle. But if he did, he wouldn't have been doing this in the first place, I don't believe. Certainly the tariffs are going to hurt consumers first and foremost. They do imagine there will be some kind of a response from the production side, but that seems an awful long shot. And what worries me even more than these immediate effects are the effects on long-term investment. If I were a CEO of a multinational looking where to put my next production facility, I would not put it in a country which is about to go into a trade war or is being threatened with a trade war. So this is really not good for China or the U.S.
And that's the whole supply chain argument that's going to be disrupted as well. There's also reports that the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin's been in contact with Walmart execs about their concerns about price hikes for basics like diapers, baby-related items. Of course, people shop there because they're cheap, but it looks like the prices may be going up there as well. Give me your sense about where you see this going.
Well, that's hard to say. I think it looks now as if both sides have pretty much painted themselves into a corner. Donald Trump is famously unable to admit that he's ever made a mistake or to back down from a fight. And China really is not going to be pushed around. The premier has made it clear that he is not going to give in to what he considers to be threats. So I unfortunately think we're looking at a tariff war that could conceivably go on for quite some time.
And of course, the escalation in tensions, recent moves against Huawei, that has some people in China really rethinking the relationship with the United States. As you mentioned, President Xi also saying the country should prepare for basically difficult times ahead. It looks as though China is prepared to play the long game. Is the U.S.?
Well, I don't know what that would be in our case. I think it's unlikely that we're going to suddenly sprout manufacturing capacity in a lot of the low-cost consumer goods that we have been importing from China that you can find at Walmart and places like that. The long game here in a rosy scenario would be that we would get a production response. We would start producing some of these things ourselves. But that is only true in a world where there is no retaliation. And we're going to see retaliation. China is not going to just stand still and do nothing if the U.S. continues to raise tariffs on their goods.
What's going to be the overall impact on the U.S. economy, the Chinese economy, even the world economy? Because the IMF's Christine Lagarde back in April cautioned that the trade war could deepen the global slowdown.
That's right. And if you look at the absolute numbers of the goods that are being subjected to tariffs, it's not that huge compared to GDP. But what's more worrying is the overall outlook and uncertainty that this engenders. People are looking at the current business cycle and wondering whether we've reached a peak. And I got to say, nobody really knows what it is that turns a business cycle around. If we did, we'd all be rich or have a Nobel Prize. But this can't help. And another negative shock and more uncertainty is not the thing we should be looking for right now.
And Stephen, before we go, just is there an off-ramp? I mean, do you see any kind of daylight here where they might come to some sort of agreement?
Sure. I mean, there are things that China could do that would make the U.S. happy, and it's certainly true that since their accession to the WTO, they have played fast and loose with some of the rules, and they could take steps to rein some of that in. The U.S., for its part, could back off some of the tariffs in response to this, but that would require that there be good faith talks. And at the moment, we're at a standstill on that, but certainly it would be possible to get there if there were political will on both sides.
Stephen Kyle joining us from New York. Thanks so much.